I'm really impressed by the numbers this morning, especially given the weather that we have. I hope everyone arrived safely. Can you hear me all right? Before I go on too far, there's a lapel mic as well that I can take out if necessary. Just turn it up a bit. Okay. My 8-year-old daughter was very impressed to hear that this was going to be on YouTube. So I had to get a haircut before coming. We've set a very large agenda for ourselves today, and we have a modest amount of time, and we want to use that wisely. I began thinking about this topic in a serious way in the last few years, living and worshiping in the context of the Markham area Mennonites. My background is different than that. And as I was thinking about my own family's story, which is a refugee story, I asked myself, what kind of practices shaped congregations like the one I'm in currently in Stouffville to move members to support MCC the way they did for a few generations. MCC saved my family's life a number of times over. I would not be here if it wasn't for the work of MCC. And so I've always enjoyed talking to the older people in our congregations about their early congregational experiences and the kind of practices that they recall that shaped them to be the kind of people they are. And of course, in my mind, I try then to think about our context today. What kind of practices do we need to nourish in our own congregations to shape the kind of people that have those instincts to do the right things at the right time? And so that's a little bit of the background to what we'll be doing today. We'll be asking how we and our congregations can regain that longing and excitement and commitment to grow up in Christ. That was what we had in our brochure. And that's connected to these practices of spiritual formation. So we want to think about Christian formation, and in particular, how practices shape the Christian life. And to do this well, we want to look at where we have been. So in other words, the kind of practices that our congregations and that we as leaders have nourished over years. We want to also look at where we are now, and then also look ahead to what might be coming our way. So first, the practices and the disciplines that have shaped and sustained our people. It's important, I think, for us to identify what those are and to really appreciate them, even though some of those practices might not be ones that we continue to do now. And I think it's also important to hear from our ecumenical partners, who you may or may not know are increasingly looking to Mennonites, the inheritors of the Anabaptist movement, for clues, for ideas of how to be church on the margins of society. And they think we have a long experience of doing that, and we do. And but they often expect us to help them out in that. So I want to share a little bit about what we're hearing from our ecumenical partners. And then secondly, our cultural landscape. If our spiritual formation is to shape people that can demonstrate the reality of the kingdom to the world, people who can embody the gospel and communicate that, then we need to have a fairly good understanding of what that context is in which God has placed us to be salt and light. And our Canadian cultural context is changing very rapidly. There are some significant things that have happened in our lifetime and that are continuing to happen. And as churches seeking to be faithful witnesses, we need to continue to keep our eye on what is occurring, and that will of course inform the way we do our formative work, our formation work. And so then we'll look ahead and reflect on how we can provide leadership for our churches in these changing and, I would say, exciting times. There won't be any easy or quick solutions today, so don't expect that, because the changes and the changes that we're undergoing are large, and a quick solution would do injustice to our task. But it will require some good, hard thinking, our very best thinking. It'll require patience and discernment, and we can do some of that today. I'll give some input, and I'm hoping that around our tables too, there'll be good opportunities to learn from each other. And I'd like to learn from you as well.